Film fans YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, I am the Movie Apprentice, and today I look at episode 3 of Masters of the Air, now streaming on Apple TV+. I have been really enjoying the show so far, and episode 3, well, I said last week that this show had the potential to be really good. They weren't the strongest couple of episodes, but they were still really enjoyable and had potential, so I was looking forward to seeing it slowly build up to being possibly a great show. Well, episode 3 said, nah, a slow build. We're going all the way up because this episode, oh boy, this is the equivalent to, this is basically the Battle of the Bulge episode of Band of Brothers, but for Masters of the Air, because this one is brutal. This episode focuses exclusively on the Schweinfurt-Regensburg Mission, and this episode is brutal from the get-go. The cold open is 10 minutes long, and as the last line of that cold open says, they are sending these boys straight into hell without any help. This episode really encompassed that. It is absolutely brutal and gives us some really strong, heartbreaking moments. There are named characters that will bite the big one in this episode. I obviously will not spoil who, but this is the episode where things can go horribly, horribly wrong, and the depictions of the hells of these planes. Like, we finally get to see the process of bailing out. The first couple episodes, we've had a few people say, are there any shoots? Well, this is where we see actively the moments where pilots will decide to abandon their forts and jump out of the planes, and the process going about it. And we once again see that despite these forts being amazing, they are still temperamental to technical faults and gremlins, which leads to some unfortunate consequences. So it's a really good episode, just on pure action scale spectacle standpoint, and even on an emotional level. There are moments where emotions will run high, and they really help carry the episode forward. I will say, if I had to have one big complaint about the series so far, it's very prevalent in this one, is that Buck, played by Austin Butler, is coming across as almost this Hollywood hero kind of character. He very much takes a Tom Cruise Maverick approach in some of his scenes, and it's starting to irk me a little bit. Now, he is one of the people that is based on a real person, so maybe this is a knowledge gap on my side. I need to go look into the stories of the two Bucks. I know 100% that Buck and Bucky did exist in real life now, after doing a bit of research after watching this episode, and I need to go dive into it a bit more, because maybe my complaint is unfathomable, but for me, it feels like he has to get his hero moment in each episode at the moment. That becomes very tiresome very quickly. While it does lead to some good drama, and it is a miniseries, it is going to give us drama, it does feel like that element of things is overshadowing the wider story, because we are getting to know a great many characters in this. It's not just 3 or 4, we're getting to know at least 5 or 6 named characters that we're slowly getting familiarized with, so it gives the show a big chance to pull the rug out from under us when it comes to the fate of these men. Now, the next episode after this one is going to be a very interesting one. It is set up very well and really shows the scale of what happens once a pilot has to bail out and is in enemy occupied territory. That is going to be a good episode to look forward to next week. But in the meantime, this episode really focused on what was one of the bloodiest days for the Bloody 100th. This is probably the mission that really solidified that nickname for this bomber group, because they lose a lot of forts, and there are some moments where it almost goes full Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan, just seeing the devastation all around them. Seeing again how these forts operate, from the radio operators to the navigators to the communication to the call outs from people on every side of the fort, from the gunners to the pilots to the person in the hole that has the unfortunate job of being in a very uncomfortable position. Like, one of my only bits of knowledge about these B-17 bombers and how they operate is that the hole is a very, very uncomfortable place to sit in, and it's a very uncomfortable place to be for a long flight. But overall, for me, this episode of Masters of the Air is probably what everyone really wanted it to be. I imagine next week will be a slower episode. For me, it's a really, really, really strong episode that did have me on the edge of my seat. However, there is that small caveat of Buck coming across as this big Hollywood hero. And whilst I know that there are heroes in wartime, it feels like he is getting a considerable amount of hero moments compared to the rest of the crew. And that is something that's starting to irk me slightly. But I think next week he might have less of a focus. But that is all I'm going to say in regards to that. Those of you that seem to really not enjoy the first couple episodes of this, I felt this one is very much leaning back towards the more classic Band of Brothers episodes. So hopefully this will really win some people over. It's still an entertaining show to watch. And I can't get over these battle sequences in the air are just really well done. They put a lot of money behind this. Apple really went above and beyond to give us these sequences. And I feel like it's paid off to great effect. In terms of the show and this episode, I'm going to have to say that this episode of Masters of the Air, episode 3, was a great cup of tea. So have you seen the latest episode of Masters of the Air? Tell me what you thought down in the comments below. And do you have any more insight to add to the context of this particular mission? I'm very curious to hear what the people that spend time looking deeper into the history have to say about these episodes. Coming up on the channel, Iron Claw. I have finally seen it. It's not even out in the UK yet, but we did a little unlimited screening. So after so long awaiting, finally saw it. Worth the wait. Can't wait to review that for you. But until next time, everybody, my name is Josh. I have been Movie Apprentice. I'll see you all in the next video.